well with the cards in hand determines our success. Life is all about a card game. Choosing the right cards is not in our hands, but playing well with the cards in hand determines our success.
Quite a beautiful Monday, and I'm glad that you're here with me once again. My name is Linda Alela. This is Morning Cafe, your favorite show on TV47, the home of Untold Stories, where we kickstart your day on an incredible note. We inform you, entertain you, educate you, and we welcome you to be part and parcel of the show. Most of the times we say it is our show, and therefore your interaction with us is key. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KE. I hope you've had a beautiful weekend as we all look forward to a good week ahead. Starting on this bit of Monday, we certainly believe that it will be a beautiful one. It will be a peaceful one as it is. The weather is looking all so friendly, and we all hope that it sticks to that. So karibu sana as we kickstart the broadcast, and we look forward to have a great conversation. Actually, two different topics that we'll be focusing on. The state of the nation captures a conglomeration of a couple of things that are happening in the country. Of course, we talk matters politics, matters education, matters health. Health is later on. Today, we're going to have a special session where we just tell you how best you can remove that tummy fat that has been stubborn for the longest of time. You've been going to the gym, you've been hitting the gym, eating healthy, but it's just not working. What could be the problem? We'll be discussing that later on at around 8 a.m. in the morning. But even before we get to that level, remember there's this great conversation that we have. Like I said, we look at the politics of the day. So much is happening. Is President Uhuru Kenyatta headed to change or to shuffle his cabinet? Something that we look forward to discuss. That is after a couple of months or a couple of weeks ago, there were conversations that there are a couple of moles within the cabinet, moles of Deputy President William Ruto, and therefore they're just waiting for the question of time before they declare their interest for his presidency. And he officially says that he is in UDA. That is over the weekend, treated many to a couple of surprises. After a very long time, he's not been, coming out to declare that he is in UDA party. This as, of course, ODM and Jubilee Party are having conversations of having, say they're a combined party, and so they come together as an alliance, so they come together as a coalition. What would it mean for the other NASA principles? This is the conversations that we'll be having this morning. So make sure that you keep it right here as you also interact with us. First things first, the newspapers. What do they detail? The People Daily, front page of the People Daily. We also look at this as we discuss matters graft in the country. Are we building warlords at the level of the counties? EACC, after 226 billion properties, several agencies involved in the fight against corruption are seeking to recover the properties owned by high-ranking individuals and their associates. But just how do we expect this to play out? I mean, for the longest of time, we've seen EACC going after these heads, actually the ones that have been captured there, but really we've not been able to get answers or anything tangible out of it, and therefore we have even had conversations of whether EACC should be rated out as an investigative body, whether there's really something important that it does in making sure that we deal with these cases in the country or not. So we'll be looking at that later on as we proceed. And to the biggest story as captured on the front page of the People Daily, how Ruto created his vast empire, an interesting one. Deputy President William Ruto took advantage of President Uhuru Kenyatta's trust to amass a fortune and build relationships geared towards the 2022 race. A story captured on page 4 and 5, something that has been looked at as one that has worked in favor of him in terms of the numerous amounts of money that he's been dishing out in his campaigns. It's a journey that started way back when Jubilee Party took over the reins of power. The DP is a strategist and has a vision in life. That is according to Kipchumba Murkomen, and we'll be looking at this. We get the view of the guests this morning, just to hear what they'll have to say in regards to the same as we talk matters politics and to the alarming rate of course, abductions that we see in the country. Alarm raised of rise in abductions as captured on page 7 of the People Daily. The latest victim was rescued in Nairobi Kayole's estate, where she was tortured as her tormentors pushed family to pay a ransom. That, of course, is one that we'll be looking at for the better part of last week, and she was released yesterday, something that got many a little bit worried. And the conversation again here is that while these cases are on the rise, Somali girls are being targeted even more, and that raises the question as to what could be informing this. The conversation is on in the country, and the call is that you also should be out there very careful. Especially the parents should make sure that at least they enlighten their kids on the importance of, being, of course, careful, and also avoiding the scenarios of being so friendly, especially to strangers. He's much more than a father. How did you celebrate your dad? Lots of stories, lots of people coming out to acknowledge the importance of their dads in their lives. Those who lost their dads, those who still have their dads, those who have dads who are acting, people who are acting like dads, who are taking up the space of their dads in their family. It was Father's Day, and most of the people came out to celebrate their dads in all special ways. A story captured on page 8 and 9 of the People Daily, just speaking of the numerous stories that we have about our dads. Kalonzo at crossroads in new Jubilee ODM talks. That's what we'll be discussing as we get to see, and this even as the world continues to celebrate the life of Kenneth Kaunda, Zambia's founding father, who passed on last week. And of course, conversations are on as to how great a leader he was and how he took part in the transformation of the African continent. IBC plans to list 4,200 voters in Kilifi during Education Week. And after that declaration also that they will not proceed to register, candidates who would wish to vie and they do not have degrees. The conversation has been on. We're looking forward to have one heated debate on the same as to whether degrees count or not in the event that you want to get leaders. How Ruto used Uhuru's trust to build networks, and also the fact that he declared officially that he's part and parcel of UDA. So we'll be having these conversations as we continue with the broadcast that is on the People Daily. Briefly on what has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. And here we are, and governors focus on legacy projects. Special report, that is with a year to complete their second term or second and final terms. 20 governors have prioritized to have their legacy projects in the budget that is for the new financial year. And of course, this is a special coverage as captured on page 6 and 7 of the People Daily. What does it mean for them as they exit the stage, and what then would be their political plans moving forward? Coalition unfinished business. Well, hurdles as political pact ahead of 2022 fraught with problems as negotiations for Jubilee and ODM to craft a proposed pre-election agreement. They will have to address the legal dilemma of ODM in another coalition, the National Super Alliance, and the political ramifications of such a deal for the ruling party Jubilee. And the story captured on page 4. We'll be looking at this extensively just to get to understand what then this would mean politically for these key individuals, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta and Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and what then the conversation of the BBI takes even as this plays out. As junior highs draws close, it's a crisis in waiting, and secondary schools are not adequately prepared for a transition, that is from 844 to the competency-based curriculum, with only 1.5 years before the pioneer CBC class joins junior secondary. Schools will require significant preparation in terms of infrastructure, teacher training, and development of teaching and learning content. Already, we've seen principals warning that the current congestion in secondary schools will reach crisis levels unless urgent measures are taken. That is captured on the back page of the Standard newspaper, Daily Nation, a conversation that is certainly worth having at this point when we're expecting our students to report in August, that is this year, 2021. And kidnap ordeal, how old man walked into kidnappers' arms. The 79-year-old checked out of a hotel to catch an early bus only to be abducted, kept in different houses over 2 weeks, and his family asked to fork out about 2 million ransom. A story captured on page 3. Like we've seen, the cases of abductions are on the rise, and therefore it is important that we are keen and careful. Residents float rules as COVID-19 toll rises. Dozens, including 6 police officers, have been arrested for flouting COVID-19 containment measures in 13 counties in Western and Nyanza. This at a point when the cases are on the rise, leading to a point where the government decided to also review the aspects of the curfew, and now starting at around 7 a.m. for these particular regions, going all the way to the morning. And then that tells you it is important that we're careful. We've seen how political rallies have been conducted in the country, and political conversation on that got very many people a bit worried as to whether we are genuine, even as we speak of these containment measures that have been set. Briefly on the front page of the Standard newspaper, and we have, yes, the hard copy, and we'll also be running the same on the front page. Uhuru's new look kitchen cabinet, with slightly over a year to go before he hangs up his boots. President Kenyatta has rejigged his team of advisors, dropping former loyalties and quickly filling up their posts with others. A story captured on page 4. Right Honorable Raila Odinga's face there and William Ruto's face there. And of course, DP has been edged out of the inner sanctums of power, while Right Honorable Raila Odinga finds himself right inside. Now, one of the leaders that the president consults before he looks into key projects that he sets, and that is a conversation that we'll be having. What does it mean? Is he likely to, just at least get something out of what he had listed as what he would wish to achieve before he exits the stage? A story captured on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. We look at that as we continue to have this conversation. And a different one altogether. Accident, Tuju meets driver forgives him. That is what played out yesterday, 16 months after the crash that nearly cost his life. Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju yesterday reconciled with the driver whose matatu was involved in the accident and helped raise over 11 million for Kijabe Hospital. Page 5. In that a walk that our very own Elizabeth Mutuku participated in, and had lots of leaders joining in for that particular walk that was quite long, about 50-something kilometers. And I mean, it was instrumental in terms of making these changes as he commemorates this special day. A story captured on page 5. And of course, we'll be looking at all this and much more as has been captured on these particular papers. So make sure that you keep it right here, and also on the key stories that I have told you we'll be looking at. Kindly make sure that you are part and parcel of the conversation. Give us your view on the same, and we'll definitely be capturing that to also get to engage the guests that will be holding this conversation with this morning. I will get to introduce them as we proceed. We're expecting the nearest speaker, or at least the chair for the County Assembly's Forum, that is Honorable Ndegwa. And Ndegwa Wahome, yes, it's not Nyeri, I said Nyeri, yes, it is Nyandarua. Apologies for that. And we'll also be expecting Betty Adera, former Miss President, will also be having a conversation with her, and Member of Parliament of Nyatike. And so we'll be having all this conversation. Remember, Betty Adera is also the chair of KANU Women Congress, and so we'll be engaging her alongside this gentleman. The Member of Parliament of Nyatike, Honorable Tom Odege, is also going to be with us this morning. Indeed, a conversation you do not want to miss on. But even before we get to that, we also look at what our team has prepared right here, and we have a couple of stories that have been captured, and therefore we start off with this troublesome conversation that is happening in Isiolo, even as banditry attacks have also resurfaced. And so 5 people were killed in a banditry attack in Isiolo County. The incident bringing to 40 the total number of people killed in banditry attack that is in Isiolo County in less than a year, as Andrin Kilemi tells us.
Tension is high in Madowale village at the border of Merti and Sericho wards in Isiolo County following a drone attack that left 5 people dead. Confirming the incident, Isiolo County Commissioner Herman Shambi said 3 women and 2 young boys aged below 17 years were killed in the attack while 2 others were left with injuries.
Yeah, my people were suspected to have come from Wajir.
Okay.
Na karibu mpaka pole wakachoma. But GSU, the county commander mwenyewe are on the way to the place. I'm told vijana wa Isiolo wanataka kwenda kureveli, calling for calmness. Serikali ichukue jukumu lake.
Leaders from the region have condemned the attack, adding that it was a well-schemed incident that aimed at displacing residents from their original land. The leaders say at least 40 people have been killed in the last 1 year in similar attacks.
These are actually, it has nothing to do with pasture, it has nothing to do with water. This is actually an issue of land.
This is unacceptable, and we will resist the annexing of even a single inch of our land by unorthodox means. For the past few months, there has been killing of innocent civilians by bandits from Wajir West, especially around Hadado sub-county, using guerrilla tactics, whereby they come at night at around 4 when people are sleeping, killing, and then disappearing.
They want the government to investigate security personnel deployed in the area who have severally been accused of working with the attackers.
Kuna serikali wamerespond kwa hiyo maneno, especially polisi ya Marti, ni kama wameenda kama saa 4. So tunaomba serikali au intervene na awe securities wenye wako huko wapige wote transfer.
This comes barely a week after another attack involving the Samburu and Turkana communities claimed 6 lives.
With the increasing cases of insecurity in the northeastern part of the country, leaders from the region now want the government, through the Ministry of Interior Security, to crack whip on suspected persons. Andrina Kilemi, TV 47.
Thank you, Andrin, for that. Now, to this story that, yes, I had touched on early, and is something that has been making rounds, for the better part of last week, and at least some bit of good news in regards to the same yesterday. 23-year-old Hafsa Mohammed, who was kidnapped last week, has been rescued by police. Hafsa is currently undergoing treatment at the Nairobi hospital and was found in a dingy house that is Nairobi's Kayole's area. And as Sharon Baranga reports, police are currently interrogating a suspect to help shed light on what really played out at this aspect of kidnapping.
At last, a week that has been tormentors and caused mental anguish to Mohammed's family is over. Their prayers have been answered. Their kin, 23-year-old Hafsa Mohammed, who was kidnapped on Tuesday last week, was rescued early Sunday by detectives from Crime Research and Intelligence Bureau and the Special Service Unit. She is currently undergoing a medical examination at a Nairobi hospital.
Alhamdulillah, kwanza serikali wametusaidia kupata msichana yetu, na yeye sasa yako salama. Na tunatarajia wenye wamefanya hiyo vituko wapatikane kwa mkono ya haki, ndio ifuatiliwe na sisi at least turidhike. Kuna watu tangu msichana yetu alipotea mpaka saa hii watu wengine hawajakula, hawajalala, kuna watu hawajaenda kazi, watu wamekuwa na stress wakitafuta ndugu yake, familia, watu wengi sana wamekuwa na mawazo kuna watu hata hawajaenda karibu siku 5 kazi kwa sababu ya hiyo stress. Kwa sasa hivi hali yake sio mbaya, anaongea na ako normal, she is normal for now. At least ile kitu ingine tutajua kwa daktari, kwa sababu matibabu sasa inaendelea bado, so tutajua, lakini kwa sasa kenye sisi tumeona kama familia, she is okay. Ile maybe ile kitu kidogo maybe amepigwa kofi nini, lakini she is okay for now, alhamdulillah.
Ile kitendo ambayo inaendelea saa hii katika Kenya ni ya kwamba watoto wanatekwa nyara na wanadhulumiwa. Hiyo kitendo tunakachifu popote tuko, na tunasema hiyo kitendo pali popote tuko wa Kenya tuungane mkono na tuseme ya kwamba hiyo kitendo ikome.
Last week, news of Hafsa's kidnapping hit the headlines. Soon after, her captors released a video showing a tortured Hafsa, with the kidnappers asking for a 5 million shillings ransom in exchange for her release.
Saa hii kuna vituko mingi vinaendelea. Kila msichana, akuwe Muislamu, akuwe Mkristo, tunasema kila msichana akitoka kwa nyumba yao ajichunge. Make sure ukitoka kwenu unamwambia mzazi yako, ndugu yako mahali unaenda.
Tunasema wa vijana, hasa wasichana ambao wanatoka kwao nyumbani, wajulikane kama wanafika nyumbani wakati inafaa.
Hafsa, a Kamkunji-based businesswoman, was rescued from Matopeni area in Nairobi's Kayole estate, where she was being held by her captors. She was last seen on 15th June around 5 p.m. when she left her shop accompanied by a friend. It was then reported that they were heading to her friend's grocery shop in Kayole. It is then that she disappeared before a video resurfaced on social media of a tortured Hafsa. She had wounds on her face and hands. It was also reported that she had been forced to fit in this 210-liter water tank. One suspect has been arrested and is currently being interrogated by detectives to shed more light on the kidnapping and help in the arrest of his gang. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Well, to politics now. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has hit back at his counterpart, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, over his remarks directed at him. Kalonzo, who was in Murang'a County, says he will continue with his 2022 political bid. And Kalonzo was responding to ODM boss Raila Odinga's recent remarks, as Paul Kirobi tells us.
Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka hit out at his ODM leader Raila Odinga over his backing remarks directed at him.
Nimebweka kweli. Nitazidi kubweka dhidi ya ukabila, nitabweka dhidi ya ufisadi, and therefore join the kubweka team.
Speaking in Mombasa this week, ODM leader Raila Odinga fired back at Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka over remarks that he will not be Raila's running mate for a third time. Odinga says he is yet to declare his intention to run for presidency during the 2022 polls.
Lakini wengine wanasema ati hawawezi kuniunga mkono. Mimi si nimeuliza wewe uniunge mkono? Mimi sijatangaza. Bado wanaanza kutetemeka.
In an interview, Kalonzo Musyoka had earlier said it is very unlikely that he will support former Prime Minister Raila Odinga for president again. The Wiper Party leader said he would rather retire than support Raila. Kalonzo, who was in Murang'a County, said there was a written agreement amongst NASA affiliate political parties in 2017 on 2022 general election, which needed to be honored.
Or even privately, and more so, in writing. Yani ukiandika sahi yako mahali usema hii ni coalition agreement kama ya NASA, coalition agreement ya Jubilee na wale wengine, then you live by that, particularly where there's a written commitment.
Kalonzo, whose party has a cooperation agreement with the ruling Jubilee party, also said he had no problem with other parties forming coalition with Jubilee, and that if the coalition was to look for political power, then his Wiper Party will be in for the deal. Kalonzo further drumming up support for that BBI bill.
We have a cooperation agreement between Jubilee, whose party leader is President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and I'm the party leader of Wiper. If others want to join, they are most welcome, because idea ni kuleta kama building bridges, tuunganishe kila mtu hapa.
Kalonzo was speaking at Mary Immaculate Catholic Church in Kagulu, Idhanga Gatanga sub-county. Paul Kirobi, TV 47, Nairobi.
Well, more on politics and exactly what we'll be touching on this morning. ODM, the 3 years, that is after President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga shook hands to end the long standoff over allegations of election malpractices in the 2017 presidential election. Well, the handshake has transformed into a political vehicle that could see ODM boss in State House next year. But as talks over the formation of an opposition-allied ruling coalition continue, billionaire Jimmy Wanjigi's entrance into this conversation of 2022 politics, that is, as of course he seeks 2022 elections and to be the heir of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Well, this seems like it will bring a different shift and turn of events. And as Musa Salah tells us, of course, the Jubilee puzzle or ODM merger is a meticulous plan that seeks to kill two birds with one stone, finding an influential partner or heir to Kenyatta's Mount Kenya region, of course, building a single ticket out of two men who challenged Kenyatta in 2017.
Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju's revelation that the ruling Jubilee Party and the opposition Orange Democratic Movement ODM are in the advanced stages of forming an alliance confirmed rumors that the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga on the stairs of Harambee House in 2018 was Odinga's political vehicle to State House in the 2022 presidential election. But torn between sticking with his newly found political soulmate President Uhuru Kenyatta and dissolving the NASA coalition to ditch his longtime friends Musalia Mudavadi of ANC, Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, and Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula, Odinga's fourth attempt at taking over the house on the hill may not be easy. His NASA counterparts are already smelling foul play.
We are trying to build a one Kenya. One Kenya meaning that we want everyone together, and we've started the movement already. Wiper in conjunction with KANU, in conjunction with ANC, and also in conjunction with Ford Kenya, have already started the move. So we would like to urge our partners, that is the Jubilee Party, which we have actually signed a cooperation agreement with, and ODM, who are also in an agreement, a coalition agreement with us under NASA, to come together under the One Kenya movement.
Tulikuwa na mkataba katika NASA, na hiyo mkataba ulikuwa umeandikwa na umesainiwa na iko na Registrar of Political Parties. Na ulisema Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga anaenda mara ya mwisho na hatarudia kusimama mwaka wa 2022. Na wakasema pia chama cha ODM kitasimamisha candidate.
And the truth of the matter is that between Uhuru, in the last election, the second person who had united Kenyans was from NASA. So he's saying, look, if you guys don't agree to break apart into small pieces, you will most probably be the people with the largest crowd behind you in the next election. So don't agree to break up, because if you stay together, then you are more or less guaranteed to come and tell me this is the way we want to go. And because you are the ones who are going to have the most people, I will support. That is what he's been consistent on. And even for anybody, including the Deputy President, to think that this is against him, he needs to ask himself, what changed?
But according to sources private to the Jubilee ODM alliance, the Kenyatta-Odinga strategy has had a new entrant into the list of presidential hopefuls.
No, go ahead.
Billionaire Jimmy Wanjigi, who financed Odinga's NASA campaigns in 2017 after falling out with the Uhuru Ruto coalition a few years after he brokered the election in 2013, Wanjigi says he's done working behind the scenes, this time offering himself for the top position.
I haven't seen Wanjigi in political circles. I actually don't know him as a politician. I know him as an entrepreneur. And all of us have got business to do in this world. There are those of us who are chosen to be leaders and politicians. There are those of us who are excellent entrepreneurs. And I believe Wanjigi belongs to the latter category. Whoever tells us that he's the best leader because probably he's affluent or probably he is able to make connections, and I don't think that's leadership.
We have agreed that Muturi is going to be the man. But then we don't talk bad things of our friends who are like 20%, who are, believing that Jimmy Wanjigi can be a president going forward.
Arguably one of the most influential power brokers in the country, Wanjigi's entry into the picture is not by coincidence. It is alleged that Wanjigi's presidential bid is a calculated move to replace Kenyatta in the mountain, which has threatened to burst in search for an heir to the throne.
Hawa mangavana wote 8 tulikuwa nao huko na wabunge kadhaa na hata wengine vile hawakujua. Tukakuwa na msimamo na kauli moja ya kwamba mlima hautagawanywa. Sawa sawa? Tukasema mlima ni nini? Ni mmoja. Lakini tutashikana, tuzungumze chini ya uongozi wa President Uhuru Kenyatta, tujue yule ataridhi hiyo uongozi wake wakati wake ukifika waku staafu.
The billionaire from Murang'a County is set to begin courting the region from next week, beginning with his home county. But President Kenyatta is expected to cement Wanjigi's courtship with a tour of his Mount Kenya backyard later in August. However, Kenyatta's tour to the mountain will be pegged on how the Kiambaa constituency and Muguga ward by-elections will pan out, the two mini polls taking place in Kenyatta's home county of Kiambu. Kenyatta faces a strong opposition from his deputy William Ruto, who has since rubbished the Jubilee ODM alliance.
Hawa watu wamevunja chama ya Jubilee ya kitaifa. Sasa wanataka kutuambia kila mtu aende aanzishe chama ya kabila yake. Sisi tunawaambia la nation ya Kenya haiwezi kutoshea kwa chama ya kabila fulani na haiwezi kutoshea kwa chama ya kona fulani. Sisi tutakuwa na chama ya kitaifa ambayo Wakenya wote watatoshea.
For His Excellency the President, the party leader of Jubilee Party, to come out in the open and say that he would support a joint candidate of NASA is the most unfortunate statement, because he is our party leader, he's the president of this country, and he should be uniting the country. From his own record and previous statement and positions, he has been saying that he does not want politics, it is too early.
But with an untamable deputy, Kenyatta is said to be going for the necks of Ruto's foot soldiers that is aimed at marketing the new alliance in Mount Kenya. Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome, Kiharu's Ndendi Nyoro, Mathira's Rigathi Gachagua, and Kikuyu's Kimani Ichung'wah will be the most affected as Jubilee Party prepares to replace its defunct members.
Kamari yapata potea.
Musa Salah, TV47.
Na Kitale Kapeli iko wapi?
Asante sana Musa Salah for that. That triggers the conversation this morning. But even before we get to that, I think it's only fair that we also look at some of the stories that have been captured on the papers that are of equal importance before we delve deep into that. Remember, this story somehow finds its way into the front pages of all the papers. We're talking about the People Daily, the Standard newspaper, and the Daily Nation. The politics of the day, what played out over the weekend, and just a simple analysis of what would culminate, of course, if the conversation continues as it is. And joining me for this conversation are two gentlemen and one lady that will ably take us through the same. And I love the fact that they are all members of different parties, and therefore they'll be telling us this conversation on matters politics and just what party is likely to stand at the test of time and probably find its way into the general election as it is. Interestingly, they are not just any other parties, they are one of the strongest parties, or some of the strongest parties that we have in the country, and therefore the conversation is certainly, of course, better positioned if discussed by them. We have Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, who's the Chair County Assemblies Forum. He's here with us this morning, right next to me. Thank you so much for finding time to be with us this morning.
Thank you, Rita.
Karibu sana once again.
Good morning to Kenyans and to the people of Nyandarua.
Right.
Yes, and I'm happy to be here again.
Karibu sana once again. And Betty Adera, who's disappeared for the longest of time, I claim, or this is what I say, that her party decided to swallow her, but she comes with goodies from this very same party. Betty Adera is the National Chair, KANU Women Congress, officially elected for that particular position. But just where is KANU is one thing that we ask today. Betty. Good morning.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'll tell you all about where Kanu is.
All right, we're eagerly waiting to see that. Honorable Member of Parliament of Nyatike, the very first time he's gracing our show that is Morning Cafe. So karibu sana mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much.
Tom Odege, asante sana for creating time.
Thank
I posted the poster somewhere, and all the Nyatike ladies were out there saying that is our Member of Parliament. So you better do what it is that you're supposed to do. Do justice on this conversation because they're waiting. The likes of Ella, the likes of Molly, the likes of Maureen, very many active ladies on the ground, and therefore they are watching to see whether their Member of Parliament will, be able to represent them as expected.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. All right, and the conversation is on, but even before we get to the politics of the day and knowing where KANU is, where ODM is, where Jubilee is, I think it's important that we speak of these cases of abductions that are on the rise, and the girl child is more vulnerable to the same. Betty, I am coming to you. We are having these conversations. This one is interesting, that has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. Our old man was kidnapped, and there are boys who have been kidnapped, but it appears that the ladies are at more risk, and especially the Somali women. Just what really is happening? I understand that a majority of these kidnappers are always there to get or to create a ransom out of this. But should we really think it is such a scenario? What could have triggered the same?
Actually, the rising cases of kidnappings, especially for women and girls, and you might want to say that are they also targeting like marginalized women, is very worrying. It is a worrying trend in this country. And I just applaud our security apparatus, to up their game to avert any more, such kidnappings.
Yeah.
Now, the recent cases that have been highlighted, on the media, you might want to say that are they profiling a particular type of women? Because here, this is a businesswoman. They are asking for a ransom. Tortured her, exposed her to, a horrendous, treatment, asking for a ransom of 5 million. The question that begs is it that COVID has really messed us that much to a point where the only option of income generation is through crime? That is also, one thing to look at. The second thing is, why are you targeting a Somali woman, Somali businesswoman within a community that is known for conducting, business in the area where she actually does her business. So this is a worrying trend, and I'm just thinking that women and girls out there, we need to be more alert, to always tell someone, where you're going, and to the general community. I applaud this community for bringing up, this matter up, into the light, and also for security operators, for coming in and swiftly handling this matter. But this might not be the first, this might not be the last. We need to continue being out there, very vigilant.
All right. Well, interesting. Gentlemen, I'd love to get your view on the same. We have had scenarios where actually individuals are working in cohorts with the abductors, so at least they can get money out of their parents. It is that bad, Mushima?
Yes, it's very, very sad for our country and at this time. And the reason is that, especially for young girls, it is ending up in death. Despite the question of ransom being sought by the carjackers or abductors.
Right.
And I would want to say that maybe there is the aspect of the poverty and some young people, because most of it is young people and the young women who are the perpetrators of this very heinous crime. But at the end of the day, it is also showing that as a country, we are losing the moral standing. The social fabric is broken, and we really need to go back to the drawing board and start questioning very deeply where the rain started beating us. Because even some of the ransom that is being sought, like for the young girl in Rongai, recently was 300,000, and a group of 4 or 5 of them, they decided that now the ransom is not coming. Then this girl's life has to be lost. Right. So when you look at the monies and the life, then it's a bigger problem than we are seeing. Right. And I think it should be calling at this time for a national conversation on this issue, because I don't think that poverty is the only driving agenda for this kind of heinous occurrence to be happening.
All right, as I seek your view on the same briefly, Mheshimiwa, I'd also want to engage you on this conversation on how we are having to transition from 844 to the competency-based curriculum, and the fact that we're expecting to have our students get to school, secondary school for that matter, junior high school. There is some cause of worry as to how then we are able to have this transition take place as expected, looking at the fact that, well, teachers might need to do a lot of training. There might need to be, a lot of look into just how our schools are conformed and whether they'd be able to cater for the large numbers that are likely to play out. And therefore, principals across different parts of the country are crying out foul, are complaining as to how well placed they could be to handle the same. Why I want you to touch on this is because you're a member of parliament, and therefore education sits in your docket. What do you make of these two topics?
Okay, thank you very much. Before I comment on education, allow me to join my two panelists in this issue of kidnappings. And what I wanted to say is that this reflects a rot in our society. And this rot is only that now that it has hit the peak is when we are now feeling there is something wrong going on somewhere. But what I can tell you, if you look even at our youths today, people are looking for quick money. And this one is indicating something. Yeah. And as a society or a country, we need to reflect back. Even when you look at the kind of training, how we are bringing up our children, and the push for people to have money. Like now, when you look at our country, you'll find the most rich are people who have gotten money through dubious ways. So people, they are role modeling, are people now looking forward to get quick money.
Yeah.
This is your quick money. If it's not forthcoming, this is why you find somebody, even a member of the family, trying to sacrifice the family to make money from the family, things which were not unheard of before. Mm-hmm. So we just need to sit back, reflect as a country, and we ask ourselves, what have we done wrong? Can we correct it? If we can correct it, then all these things will be sorted out. Because when you look at the Muslim has been the most conserved group in this country, and we never expected this. But when you look at what's happening, you find even the same Muslims are selling their own people to make money, which I don't think is right. Mm-hmm. On this issue of CBC in our schools, I don't want to say that it's good or bad, but what I want to say is that we have a problem when we come to the change of education system. You look at, if you reflect back, I think when 844 was being introduced, maybe you are young or you are not there, but I can tell you, people really politicized it. It took us over 10 years to accept 844 was with us.
All right.
Even this one, our people are not ready for anything new, and they accept it all of a sudden and say this one is good for us. It will meet some resistance up to a level where people will start appreciating it when they see some benefits coming out of it. But again, as a country, and especially Ministry of Education and the government, a new system cannot come easy. Yeah. They must be ready to spend on it. This one, they have to spend on it on the side of training of teachers. Mm-hmm. If you leave the training of teachers, we need equipment in school. Schools need to be made ready for this. Because when you go to all our schools, you will not notice any change. You will not notice any preparedness. So we may be very busy talking about a new system to be implemented, when in reality as a country, if we examine ourselves, we are not ready for it. So we need to look into it seriously, and we see that all that we need for educational system to change are exactly on the ground, and with the teachers, and is with us also as the parents, so that we jointly appreciate and make sure that we succeed as a team. But if we push it when we are not ready, we don't expect results.
All right, well, interesting one.
Maybe read that to weigh in on what Mheshimiwa said, that I think he has really gone into the very heart of this whole CBC system.
Yeah.
And as we have said in the past, is that Kenya, we have no problem with coming up with very serious blueprints on the way forward for this country. And I believe that the paperwork that we have in this country, if implemented, Kenya would be in another level, or at another level. Because as of now, for CBC to be effective, what kind of teachers have we trained for CBC undertakings? I have not heard of teachers being taken to trainings. Teachers, actually, I really don't understand, like politicians ourselves. We are always on benchmarkings. We are always on continuous trainings. But at the end of the day, I have not had this. Maybe the top teachers and the top education officials.
The times when they were being taken for trainings, and some of them were actually boycotting the trainings. That was way back when the conversation should be around 2019 there. 2018, right? Yes, and the boycotts were on extremely.
So whether they were on or not, they are the people to implement.
Okay.
And the government must put on in place mechanisms to ensure that it is done. The physical infrastructure in some of the counties and the constituencies is pathetic. And the CBC actually is preparing us for the future market for Kenya. And therefore, for me, the blueprint is one of the best you can ever see anywhere in the education sector in the world. So it is a matter of implementation of the blueprint by having the right human resource to undertake that one. Secondly is the physical infrastructure. When you look at the present budget that was recently passed by Parliament, what was there for the primary and secondary education to factor in the CBC? You don't see much of it.
Okay.
When you go and look at power connectivity within schools, so that we are able to implement the CBC, water connectivity in the schools. In whole summary, I'm thinking that those people concerned with that sector and all the stakeholders should come together and look at it and put in place an implementation matrix. That is only the time that issue will become beneficial to this country.
Allow me to just add one little comment that the success of a child in the education system takes a tripartite approach where the child, the student, the learner himself, herself, the teacher, plus the whole school education system, and the parent, must come together. So for this one to work, I just want to uphold and call upon all the stakeholders to pull in one direction to make this work. Question that begs in, yes, teachers need to be trained on a continuous basis because the world is changing and new things, come in every single day. And you want the person who's imparting knowledge in your child to be just as informed. But the other issue is, what is the role of the parent? What is the role of the caregiver, in this whole process? So I have come across so many caregivers who have no clue what this CBC is all about. They keep wondering why I have to, sit with my child, for all these hours doing all this homework, then the homeschooling, during COVID. Of course, it's your role as a parent to ensure that you're with it in terms of your child's education, but most of them have actually no clue. So as we are thinking about making our teachers, more competent to deliver this, they also need to figure out a way in which parents are also sensitized, on what this system, is all about and their role expected of them at every single stage.
All right, it's a process that is here with us, and we can only hope that we are able to adjust, like Mheshimiwa would rightfully put it. I hope it doesn't take longer as it took 844. But away from it, and the conversations of COVID-19 are here with us. We realize that Western Kenya and Nyanza region have hugely been affected at this point in time. But still, we do not see any kind of remorse in the sense of how they are operating. Some of them are flouting the rules as set. And this is a story that has been captured, that is on the front page and expounded on page 12 of the Daily Nation. Dozens, include 6 police officers, have been arrested for flouting COVID-19 containment measures in 13 counties in Western and Nyanza. That also has been captured somehow in an opinion aspect, that is on the Standard. Ted Malanda says if voters were better educated, wananchi would not stand up on political rallies to be entertained by educated politicians with 2 left feet making a mockery of the dance, and even worse, the fact that we still have campaigns running. Just what is happening? Is it the politician that has a problem? Is it the voter that has a problem? And why should we even put our lives to such risk, knowing very well that the numbers have surged in Nyanza and in Western simply because of such mere and careless moves?
It's true, we have some indications that there is an upward surge of corona in Nyanza and Western region at large. And this one also maybe people may try to this one to celebrations which was there in Kisumu, which I don't think is true. When you look at the corona and you look at the circle and you look at the proximity between Kenya and Uganda, it's affecting those areas we're talking about.
Okay.
Even when you talk about this variant from India, if you trace it, it entered Kisumu from Uganda.
Okay.
So even this rise we are seeing today, it's more of something across the border. That's why you can see Busia going up, Kisumu and Homa Bay. I know that Kisumu, Busia, Homa Bay are now affecting Kisii, Nyamira, Kericho, those bordering areas.
Okay.
But this one is purely because of the business we're doing across the border, not necessarily the meeting. But what I want to say about our people generally, and this one also I want to take back to the government. Our government also, I would say there is laxity because we talk about some measures to be put in place. When you go down on the ground, you don't see the seriousness of effecting those measures. Like we talk about 50 people in a burial or a church, something of that kind. When you go in a burial, you find some waivers. Kujeni haraka, lakini umalese kabla police wajafika, something of that kind. And you find somebody, you find people who are doing that are people who are trusted to deal with this thing. Burial, we talk about 72 hours. 72 hours was supposed to be between the mortuary and the burial place. The burial place, the bodies are supposed to be buried the same. You bring the body from the mortuary, you bury the same day.
The same day, yes.
But now the 72 hours is now calculated, even sometimes allowing the body to come and spend at home, so that the burial is conducted tomorrow. At night, if you talk about who will control the crowd at night, even if you come to now start trying to control the crowd in the morning and they were there at night, you don't solve anything. Again, if you still allow people to crowd churches, it makes no difference. Why do you fight people in the funeral and you allow them to crowd a church? And you'll find most of you people are just politicians, rally. Even that church crowd is just the same like a rally. You allow funeral at night, then in the morning you don't find people, they bury only the family, and people already there at night. You don't solve anything. You talk about some restrictions, let us implement them. Let the government be serious. Let us not wait to see, because most of people, like now, we talk about the economic problems which we are facing. People will still go about their business, whether they have masks or not, so long as they get something to put on the table. They'll continue floating this thing. We need to remind them. We need to be very strict on them. And some of us now, the politicians, this thing also starts with us. Let us also stop attending these funerals. Let us also stop attending church fundraisings. Let us also stop encouraging people to be in crowds. Market can be made an open air and be in a very wide open area, and we conduct business. Let us not confine people when we know very well they are risking. But seriously, the government must do something.
All right. Well, Honorable Wahome, true to it, the government must do something. We have the Kiamba by-elections in waiting, and we've seen how leaders are out there campaigning. We've seen how, of course, over the weekend, we also were treated to these numerous campaigns and people coming out in large numbers to support this particular candidates or these particular politicians. Just how then do we get ourselves off the hook in as much as we say that government should come in handy to do something?
Unfortunately, is that most of those in government are in those big gatherings and in those big rallies. And therefore it sends a very conflicting message to the common mwananchi. And I think for us is that we are supposed to do the right thing. As Kenyans, from the top to the bottom, we know what we are supposed to do to be able to fight COVID-19. I had initially, when COVID came in, I saw water everywhere. There was soap, there were sanitizers outside shops, supermarkets. All those rules have been relaxed everywhere. And it is because it is thought that sometimes COVID is taken as a joke. A very serious thing is taken like a joke because after all these protocols and the guidelines are issued, those who are issuing them are the first to abuse them. And therefore it becomes a very, very tricky situation when almost everybody looks conflicted. I think we have to revisit this issue again and agree that this is a very serious tragedy and by way of a pandemic that is facing us, and we require to do the right thing. Even if there are those small gatherings as per the numbers given, depending on the gravity of the disease within the regions, and we are putting on masks, we are washing our hands, we are sanitizing, and we are keeping the distances. This can help. But again, we have Kiamba, we have Mugoka, we have funerals, we have weddings, and when you go there, unless you are reminded, you start wondering whether COVID has disappeared. So seriously, Kenyans, we have to know that this is for ourselves, and it is for our future.
Indeed. And on that very note, allow me to take a break, and then we'll come back, get your view on the same, and also on this one, that women have to take contraceptives in hiding because the men won't allow them. But at the same time, the men will get these babies, but won't take care of them after the short break.
We have the best quality, durable, and affordable precast panels to suit all your needs. Manufactured under a controlled environment, we have the best precast concrete panels, precast concrete floor slabs, precast concrete perimeter wall, precast concrete columns and beams. Our panels reduce construction cost by up to 40% with absolutely no plaster required, including added soundproof benefits. Convenient for story buildings, schools, offices, residential houses, hospitals, and warehouses. Take advantage of our free transport. Contact us on 0702 24 7267 or 0796 24 7267. Global Precast Panels Limited, your reliable option for efficient construction.
These are the sights and sounds of a working nation. There are no shortages to remarkable ideas. What's missing is the will to execute them.
You need to stay relevant. If you don't, you're going to fade off.
Yes, they are a dime in a dozen, but the real meat on these bones comes from trying to realize them.
You just need to perfect anything. If it's drawing, if it's music, pursue it 100% because it's something that is giving.
Welcome back to the conversation. It's heated right here because the men are trying to get themselves off the hook, but we say they're in, and we just get to understand some more. We pick about 2-3 stories on the papers before we delve into the conversation. Still with me this morning, Betty Adera, National Chair, KANU Women Congress. We have Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, Chair, County Assemblies Forum, and Honorable Member of Parliament of Nyatike, Honorable Tom Odege, as we discuss more on the politics of the day right here in the country. But Betty, we come to you before you also, weigh in on this aspect of contraceptives and a report that is quite unfortunate. An average of a family in West Pokot has 7 children, above the national average of 3, and men search contraceptives use on arms and then raise hell. So therefore, kama umeka ile inaonekana, then it's not going to be all rosy with you. So women in West Pokot have been forced to actually practice family planning in secret. And so you give us your view on the numerous, floating of rules that we have across the country of COVID-19, and this one more. I target you because you are a lady.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I think on the 2 issues, I'm going to give a response from a public health perspective because I am one. All right?
Yes.
Now, when COVID hit Kenya, there's a lot of disbelief that, is it? Imekuja kweli, mtu amepata, how come I'm not seeing anyone I know? And every single day, Mutahi Kagwe is reading numbers to a point where COVID became a disease of the TV. You wait for it at 3 in the afternoon. Then it progressed to a point where, due to the zoning, based on now the disease concentration, Nairobi and its environs were kind of like, zoned off, cordoned off, no cessation of movement and all that. And for you to get out or in of Nairobi, you had to go through, some long, process. To a point where people up country like started stigmatizing Nairobians. If you're a Nairobian, you go, to your home village, you're looked at, wale ndio wameleta, wale ndio wa corona, ndio wamebeba corona.
That's true.
But look at it now. In spite of the education that has happened, continuously, and we need to continue to do so, you find that out there people still, flout rules. I'm just so sad that a whole, police officers charged with enforcing, this law are the ones, flouting it in the first place, out there. And this thing of corona is a Nairobi disease, has ended, because now corona is everywhere. Western Kenya, is actually ravaged. Just yesterday, a very close friend of mine was being buried, due to corona.
Yeah.
So one, I think we need to take, the containment measures very seriously. We need to continuously, educate people out there, and the enforcement needs to really happen. And on this one, I really task the leadership at the various county levels to ensure that even if it's a market, even if it's what kind of a gathering, let it be within, what is prescribed as safe.
Yeah.
Now, secondly, I think a spotlight now is being shown on the health system structures within the county level. I know by my own knowledge that there are health facilities out there, kitanda utapata, but the equipment to keep you alive and the oxygen and all that, when now you start developing breathing problems, is a problem. So right now, as we speak, I need to double check the numbers that we are seeing, but just from stories I'm hearing, many elderly people are like just dropping dead. If you take them to hospital, there's nothing much, that's going on. And we need to question, our county leaderships in terms of how prepared are you, to respond to surging numbers of COVID-19. But to fellow Kenyans, COVID is real. COVID is here. It is your responsibility to keep yourself safe. Even if there's a rally, even if you have to go to church, be the one to ensure that you're always having your mask on and not on your chin. Your mask on, the right way. Carry on little small sanitizer, in your pocket, and you can always keep sanitizing, and we will all be safe. Now, to the contraceptive issue. Personally, I've done quite a number of researches around that, and there's evidence out there that suggests that the intimate partner, who in this case could be husband, could be a steady man in the life of a woman, is actually barrier number one in terms of uptake of contraception. Of course, we know, the value of contraception or the value of birth spacing. No, so we are not saying don't have children.
Don't have children.
No. You can have 10 of them, but just space them in a way that keeps you healthy yourself as the mother, and also give the child time, to benefit from breastfeeding and all that, and care at least up to 2 years, and then you can have another one. But between the 2 years, what happens? There's advice that you need to figure out how to, to space your children. So many men out there are actually barrier number one to women taking contraceptives, and then it leads to just what you're saying. So now they have to take contraceptives, hiding. I know many friends of mine who give their pills, like to the house help. All right? So there's a coded message. Before you go to bed, you tell your house help, naomba maji ya kunywa. Then she'll read you. She'll read what you're saying. So she'll actually bring the water, but there's a kapil, in there. As and you don't have to do that, because this is your husband. Come on. Issues around child spacing or having children should be like discussed and agreed upon within the context of that family or that particular aspect. Then there's also the other twist to it. It's like when it comes to birth control, that burden really is on the woman. It is you to prevent yourself from getting pregnant. It's never really
about the men, and I mean, it's not like we don't have family planning methods for men. We have them.
Exactly. It's not like men should not also participate in that. But I think controversy also comes that, this man is also not using condoms, and out there, I'm a scatter, he seeds, everywhere else. And then that brings a problem, because now then there's drama out there in terms of child upkeep, because a child is a child. Once a child has been born, it doesn't matter how the child was born, it is by law. that child needs to be taken care of. But contraceptive, it's a high time that those conversations are removed from the closet and put on the table within the context of a family, and then just agree upon what it is that you need to do. In fact, as a man or as a father or a husband, accompany your wife, you know, to the health facility or to see a healthcare provider, you know, when she's being advised on what are the options, you know, that are there. Be part of that conversation. Then all this drama, you know, will end.
I doubt the gentleman in our studio would wish to counter that in any way. I think we leave it at that.
Maybe a word.
Yes.
That most of these issues and the crowd around the issue of family planning is mainly a myth to most men. And is that men don't seem to understand the women's sexuality.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to mind to understand it. And therefore there is a lot of myths surrounding it and what would come of the contraceptives. And most men, when they don't want their women to take these contraceptives, it is not that they hate their women, it is that they think that this will affect their relationships, which most of the times is unfounded. And therefore, what this calls for is a lot of civic education. And I think when our women are visiting the hospitals for education on contraceptives, as I see it happening in the Americas and Europe, also men, we should be there to understand what our women need and also what we need to be able to bring up healthy families.
I hope such is the case. I hope that would be looked into. Betty, as you go for these forums, kindly make sure that you raise the same. I don't know whether there's been so much of civic education, conducted, but it is important. He raises a very pertinent issue that, yes, men are really not aware. They seem not to care. Mushimwa, you want to say something or we go to a different?
Maybe I'll still throw it back to ladies.
Yes.
Because
he needs to be chauvinism of the highest order, okay?
Let's just be honest. When you look at our families, birth is purely preserved for ladies. And in most cases, even though we may be blaming men on 1, 2, 3 instances, but those people who are in need of children than even a man are the ladies themselves. Take it from me, I'm giving you the practical truth.
1, 2, 3 enough, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Myself, my mother gave birth 14 times, and we are okay with that.
Back then.
We are okay with that. So,
back then.
Is a lady to prioritize her health, then a man will come in to assist you.
Oh, yeah?
If a man, just set a man free. If you want more children, me, I can only accommodate 3. That if you want more, you can get your own way of getting more.
This is a whole different conversation here. A Pandora's box for that matter. I'd love for us to have this one, but it is not what brings us here. And I think I would go against that conversation 100%, Moshimi, 100%.
Okay.
But all the same, your view.
Let's leave that one for another day.
We'll leave that one for another day. All right, I'd have loved for us to touch this, but then again, time also is not on our side. Criminals take over Lake Victoria. That's an interesting one. I don't know what is left of the lake. Maybe that's the reason why fish is very expensive when you go to Kisumu as opposed to other different parts of the country. That is a story captured on the Standard, maybe worth a read. But we get to the politics of the day. And this one on the People Daily, this one is on the screen. And DSCC after 226 billion properties. One thing I'd want to understand, are we building warlords, militias at the level of the county? What does this speak of devolution when we're talking about EACC after individuals that have a mass loss of properties not in the right way? And the only thing we can see is faces of governors and former governors. What do you make of this, Honorable Wahome?
I think this is a very major problem for devolution, and it is very sad because the present constitution that we have had all the architecture of triggering economic growth all the way from the world level to the national level. What we have seen is creating emperors and empresses within the counties. We are minting billionaires and millionaires within the counties, and Wajiko's fate remains the same. And I would want to say that it is not that this is not known. And I think we should, and I thank the president that he has done his part. we should stop playing games with the corruption. Otherwise, this is what will bring this country to its knees. Because I have, as a speaker, for the 9 years now, been looking at the audit reports from the Auditor General, and I've been seeing very clear indictment of persons in office and who continue becoming even more powerful, even more stronger. We are glorifying those who are corrupt if they appear in public and seem to move in a direction that generally is conventionally accepted. Otherwise, if we want to deal with this issue for once and for all, we are able to deal with it. And I have, Rinda, when I have come here, called upon the office of the DCI, called upon the office of the ECC and the DPP to move and save Wajiko from this daily suffering in this country. We have enough money that is coming to the counties. But this money, when you look at it, the impact, it is not there. And more sadly, like now in the times of pandemic like COVID, billions have come to the counties. As the chair of the County Assemblies Forum, or the assemblies in this country, we have made serious submissions to the Senate, and I'm happy that the Senate is doing very serious reports on what the governors have done with these funds. But at the end of the day, when do we see the hammer coming down very hard on these people? Because at the end of the day, people are still knowing that not much will happen to them. And therefore, it is very disappointing when I'm at my position and I feel completely disappointed when I wake up and still find myself in Kenya. What about the ordinary Wanjiko? It is very sad, and I think there must be a serious paradigm shift, especially as we go to transition, that at the end of the day, we have to be seen to be intervening on issues of corruption and ensuring that money in the counties especially is accrued towards the objects for which they were meant.
All right, I want us to couple this conversation with the next one, that is in regards to the UDA and the coming in of Deputy President William Ruto, acknowledging the fact that he is now officially in UDA. If we could get that clip and then we come back to hit and connect the same with what we also have captured on the front page of the People Daily, that one of the Deputy President.
Munajua mahali tunaenda? Munajua chama ni gani? Munajua chama ni gani? Sijasikia vizuri, ati munasema chama ni gani? Hiyo ya kazi ni kazi? Si namna hiyo? Harambee! 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 UDA! UDA! UDA!
Well, democratic space, and therefore his democratic rights. I am coupling this conversation with this one and that one also, how Ruto created his vast empire. And when we're talking about this, we're not even talking about the past. We're talking about this that Kipchumba Murkomen labels as it's a journey that started way back when Jubilee took over the reins of power. The DP is a strategist and has a vision in life. DP took advantage of the president's trust to amass a fortune and build relationships geared towards the 2022 race. We would have said that this is just, a mere, of course, view of things. But then again, confirmed by the likes of Kipchumba Murkomen, who are allies of the Deputy President William Ruto, then we'd say that this story has, in a way, some substance and worth debating. And therefore, we're speaking of individuals that get into power to prepare themselves for the next phase of getting their political, space. And therefore, this is the biggest question. And if we're looking at what is playing out at the level of the counties, evidently, again, these individuals are always about making sure that they have something for themselves. And therefore, you cannot root out the aspect of cash when it comes to that. Realistically speaking, these timelines that we're looking at, Betty, would not allow these individuals to just wake up and make lots of money in a straight way. What do you make of this?
Basically, corruption is the cancer that's going to eat us all up. Because when an official in a position of influence uses resources for the people for his or her, personal gain, then we have a problem right there. This paper is just highlighting 200 and something billion. It is much, much more than that. We have just earlier talked about what needs to be done to get Kenyans safe and healthy from a COVID-19 perspective. We have just talked about the CBC and the challenges, of implementing that. All of these things, for them to be fixed, it is money that is needed. But look at 200-something billion, is sitting in the hands of a few people who are actually, sitting in power. And when you look at that newspaper, up there, there's a conspicuous face, that should have also been, up there as the Lord of Corruption. And this is just so sad because we see His Excellency the President decry every single day, insofar as, the corruption that is so rampant in this country, and everybody says, but he's the head of state. Why can't he fix it? We are having a head of state who respects, the rule of law, right? He can't just wake up and beat up someone or fire someone.
All right.
But these guys are smart to a point where they have amassed enough to buy their way all through. So you're going to find if cases eventually end up in court, they're going to sit in court for the longest time ever, even beyond their terms in office. Now, looking at the headlines of the People's Daily, I am actually not surprised because since 2013 up to today, we all know in the public domain some of the biggest news insofar as corruption scandals are concerned, have a few names, that are always, attached to it. Then were these resources being swindled so as to enable them to run, a presidential campaign? And if you're saying that right now you already have, your outfit and you're telling people your clear vision and all that, but you can't have your cake and eat it, then walk out and just move to that your party and just, deal with it. You can't be saying my outfit is this, yet you're still sitting on in this other house. But Linda, corruption is one thing that we need not to take lightly, and it is one thing that the apparatus concerned, state apparatus concerned, should move in with speed. And if it were my will, I would even say that anybody who is having a corruption type of issue should never smell anywhere near the gates of an elective or appointive position.
Years down the line, I think it would be misplaced for us to say that a certain name has been attached to the conversations of corruption. In this particular case, Deputy President William Ruto, yet we still have him walk scot-free. Yet we have all the apparatus that are required to deal with the aspect of corruption. Is it not just trying to taint his image, paint his name bad, just because then he has this stamina politically that gets very many people scared?
Okay, let me take you back to the governance and the old corruption issues which we have in the country. I want to thank Wahome for what he has said, because we are in touch with all these audited accounts, and it is true we are losing a lot of money through corruption. I want to take you back now, the corruption in politics, and especially the one attached to politicians. What we need to tackle again as a country is the cost of getting an elective post.
Right.
You'll find like all those people you are saying are corrupt. When you go down to the Mwananchi, you'll find with all those money gotten corruptly, there are heroes outside there.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So our biggest problem is that as Kenyans, since we mind about money too much and heroes people with money, this now compels people who are looking for a person who is looking for an elective post. Before you go there, you must make money so that you can be a somebody.
Right.
So those people who have been scheming to be president, to be governor, to retain the post of a governor, be an MP, be an MCA, first you have to associate yourself with money. And when you associate yourself with money, people don't want to know how you get that money. How you got the money is none of their business.
Right.
What they want to see is when they come in contact with you, how much are you able to cough out? So you will remain very clean and you remain poor. You'll never see an elective post.
Wow.
Because people will not even dare come where you are, because you're a nobody without money. So this is what has really pushed most of our people you're seeing in politics here. For you to remain very relevant in politics, you must amass wealth. So people has gone on a stealing spree just to make them be heroes, to make them be relevant in politics, and make them be relevant to Kenyans. So if you want to fight corruption seriously, and especially when it comes to this politics and electives, we have to start by educating people. And if people can be well sensitized and they know this money being given to us was not correctly gotten, then we'll tackle it from that level. Well, let's come to the institutions trusted to fight corruption.
Yeah.
Where Wahome was alluding to. I talk of DCI, talk of EACC, talk of DPP. All these people are Kenyans, and some of them are also eyeing this political post.
Okay.
So when they find a fat cow, they fatten themselves fast.
Before
they fatten themselves fast. Right. That's why you'll see these people being arrested today, or you read the EACC who are knocking at someone's door. The next day you see him walking free. No, he's not walking free because he's innocent. These people have gotten their loot, they go. Another batch will come.
Okay.
They'll keep on milking until the guy will be out of the office. Then when they're out of the office there, we don't know what will happen. But what I can see in our country today, most of our governors who have served their 10-year period in the office,
about 20 of them.
Most of them will not sit easy after leaving the office.
Is it so?
This thing will haunt them for the rest of their lives. You'll keep on, when you see a vehicle or something hooting at your gate,
you're scared.
You think they are coming for you. They'll never get it easy, I'm telling you. Because these cases, when you talk about the government, all these things will never go. We are still talking about Goldenberg today.
That's true.
When did the Goldenberg occur? How many years?
90-something there. That was quite a while ago, 2000.
It's 30 years.
Yes.
And Kenyans are still talking about it.
Right.
Somebody who was born by then is now 30-year-old and is vying to be a president today.
Yeah.
And is talking about Goldenberg. And the Goldenberg was there when he was born. So even this corruption of governors we are talking about today, don't be cheated if you go with them. It will remain in Kenyan records and they'll be followed for another 30 years. So let them not think they'll celebrate this money.
That's true.
This money will haunt them for the rest of their lives.
Interesting view right there. And
maybe, Rita, you would allow me to weigh in on this. What Mheshimiwa has raised are very pertinent issues.
Yeah.
Because what I have seen is that, especially on the case of the governors, whom I work around with very closely, is that you'll find that most of these people are amassing wealth. And this wealth, they don't deliver any services. And they think that whether with services or not, with enough money, they will be able to sway the opinion of the people and they might find themselves back in office. I'm also thinking that a lot of money is being amassed to ensure that the investigative agencies there is enough money to compromise them, so that these investigations are delayed as long as possible. And I would say, as a case standard, as you know, I come from Nyandarua. There are very, very serious petitions filed with investigative agencies about corruption. And evidence is given as far back as 2018. And when you find that crisis in the county, some of the times is that this corruption is fighting back.
Okay.
So the appeal, as we go through this analysis of what is happening in the media and about the corruption eating up everything that belongs to the people of Kenya, the investigative agencies should kindly attend to issues that are presented to them and ensure that justice is expediently discharged, so that we have a better country. Even if it is lost for us, at least our children have hope in this country.
That's true. Yes. Okay, well, we delve deep into the aspect of politics. We are staring at a scenario where I stand corrected. I hope you still hold your position under ODM, Mheshimiwa, and I hope that Betty Adera, yes, holds the position, at least has his evidence that she's, a member of KANU. Mheshimiwa here is non-partisan. I'd want to believe, by the virtue of the fact of being a speaker, but all the same, I'd want to believe a Jubilee sympathizer. We are staring at a scenario where come 2022, we're likely to have a coalition of ODM, Jubilee, and KANU, probably pushing this conversation of getting us to the next level of government under one particular ticket that is in the blessings of a coalition as to what it is that we have seen today. What do you make of this? What would you tell supporters or sympathizers of KANU or members of KANU, that is, who are in the masses, the ones that are in the masses?
Thank you. First of all, I'd just like to reiterate the fact that the KANU party signed a post-election coalition agreement with Jubilee. So it is actually the Jubilee coalition, that's ruling, and KANU is in there. So whatever direction that Jubilee is taking, we are, part of that. That is one. Number two, while we have our national chairperson, our national, party leader, who also has eyes and interests, on the top seat. Within our party, we are cognizant of the fact that the reality in Kenya is that one political party cannot form a government. I mean, historically speaking as well. So we are keen, on reaching out to other like-minded leaders as well, and figuring out ways in which we can form, a joint vision getting into 2022. We have seen, news around the ODM Jubilee merger, possible merger, and I want to believe that conversations are still ongoing. This is a developing story that we are also keenly watching to see how eventually it will evolve. Right. But one thing for sure is that we as a party we are keen on being part of the next formation of government come 2022. We are in the process of strengthening our structures right from the polling station level, all the way up. And if you've, watched news of late, there's that kind of thing happening, across the country. Right. And we're just revamping, our structures that have been there anyway, and making sure that we're bringing in young people, we're bringing in women, and giving you opportunity to be a leader, to occupy a leadership position, within the party, and contribute significantly towards growing this house, that we have in KANU. Then secondly, we are also out scouting for potential aspirants, women, young people, and just generally, any person out there who wants to have the confidence, to place their eggs into the KANU basket heading into 2022. Now, in KANU, we are not only asking what are you coming in to do for the party, but even more importantly, what is the party, going to do for you? Okay. We have a whole plan of trainings planned for young people, ongoing even as we speak for women as well. And also looking at ways in which we can support our youth and our women to strengthen their socioeconomic, status, so that as we go into 2022, you're not easily swayed by someone who gives you 200 shillings. You have your own 200, shillings. Okay. So you're able to look at people and scan, the candidates in front of you based on some merit before you place your vote.
Okay, Honorable Tom, very important that party members are always involved in such, huge decisions. Any conversations that have been on that have involved, the members of ODM to probably proceed and agree and give the party the blessing of proceeding to work together with Jubilee Party if such is to happen, in terms of, 2022 and forming a coalition for that matter?
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that people are reading too much on this topic. When you look at the arrangements we have currently with Jubilee, or the leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta, was purely to bring the country together. And we as people are serving under ODM, if the country can come together, even under one party, so be it. Okay. Because what we are seriously looking for, how do we bring our country together where people can see each other as one, where we can regard ourselves as Kenyans. We bring down all these barriers because when you look at most of our political parties, I say most, we lack national parties, apart from ODM and Jubilee by then. When you look at other parties who are somehow tribally, and if these things of tribal, we don't bring them down, we still don't have a country, and we cannot think the same. So by us now, the ODM, accepting to work with the president, we realized that as much as we may be fighting for the democratic space, all those things and everything, we still see our country dividing. People are going different paths.
Do you realize that you still hold an agreement with the other NASA parties and therefore with the principles and all that? What happens in such a scenario? And
we are not planning to leave our NASA coalition.
Okay. Is NASA there in the first place?
NASA is there.
Okay.
It has never been brought down or quashed legally.
Right.
It's there. Maybe there are some different thoughts, like people read too much when Kalonzo said he cannot support Raila again. Those ones were very unfortunate statements, because where we are going, we want people to think the same. Because even Raila, if you talk about Raila by now, Raila has never indicated he's going for it. So why do you preempt what someone has not said?
His deputy party leader, that is Oparanya, said, you know, I step aside for the sake of Baba.
He said if.
Okay.
He said if. So let's wait for that time to come. But I'm very happy with my party leader, because his silence on the 2022 bid will make it easy for them to consult each other and get the way forward. Because, you know, if he would have made the statement before, his supporters would have already taken hardline stance. But because of the openness and the softness he has portrayed in himself, we still have a lot of space to navigate and see how do we come across and bring everybody on board so that we think together.
All right.
Yeah, for the better of the country.
Is it not unfair? Okay, well, let's not use the word unfair. Do you still believe the NASA coalition exists? And if it does, where does it place these other principles when Right Honorable Raila Odinga or ODM party seeks to work hand in hand with Jubilee Party? And speaking of Jubilee Party, do you still feel like the president is part and parcel of it? Because when he speaks of a coalition this early, yet on the other hand is pointing a finger at the deputy who is out there politicking. Is it not politicking, you know, in the same breath?
I think NASA as a coalition and on paper is still alive.
Okay.
But the spirit is not there. Obviously from the pronouncements by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, pronouncements previously by the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi, clearly they can tell you that there is nothing putting them together, but that on paper it is still holding. And that also counts for something. I think when we have seen by-elections all the way from Kibera to Matungu to all of the others, you have seen that they are speaking at cross purposes. And also you'll find that Wiper and KANU and ANC have even tried to formulate another coalition under One Kenya Alliance. Wiper, on the other hand, has also is also in a working relationship with the Jubilee. Also, obviously, in spirit, ODM is already working very closely with the Jubilee.
Yeah.
So these are times of storming and trying to find the direction for everyone. And there will be so many alignments and realignments. But what we can tell from what is happening is that there is no clear direction that has been taken by any of these parties. You will also find that UDA and Jubilee are still in a coalition. And as late as about 3 weeks ago, the Secretary General of Jubilee, Rafael Tuju, said that, and the Vice Chair, Honorable Murathe, they said that now they are not interested with those in UDA. They can go and build their party, but they continue limiting their monthly subscriptions to Jubilee. So at the end of the day, I can tell you that I'm really waiting to see things unfolding. And obviously, on the political movement, there are so many interesting, there will be very interesting times ahead of us. And actually, as of now, I can tell you, nobody is sure. Even those top politicians in this country, no one is very sure what these realignments hold for this country for tomorrow. Everybody is doing what is best for now, hoping for the best tomorrow.
One of the key things that has left a distaste in the mouths of other NASA, parties or principles is the fact that ODM has taken all the funds that were awarded to them, so to speak, and left these other parties to wallow in the seat. Are you not scared as KANU that you have the confidence that you'd go together and under Jubilee agree to work, as a coalition? Then what next after that? After that point where, the party funding comes out and therefore parties should get something small about them. I mean, it's always fair that you look at the bigger picture. And I'd want to believe as a party you'd want to enjoy the same. If at all you are to work together with these individuals, don't you think it's going to be more trouble than it appears that it will be?
Well, looking at the history of coalitioning, of political parties in Kenya, you cannot run away from the spirit or the reality of deceit, right from even the late President Moi's time. To date, there's always one party who's trying to, do something crazy. But for us in KANU, since we joined Jubilee in a coalition pact, we have not experienced any such, like underdealings. I want to believe at the level of our national party chairman and His Excellency the President, things are okay, at that level. In Parliament, both houses, we speak from the same side, and we hold the same vision of moving this country forward. But perhaps coming to the rantings of the ANC leader and the Wiper party leader in terms of what they're unhappy about within the NASA coalition. KANU is not part of that coalition, but perhaps for me, I asked the question in terms of how was this coalition crafted? On that actual legal paper, what did it say, about sharing of resources? Whether you win, the presidency that they were looking for, or not, you have your own people in the county assemblies, and in Parliament, and then by law, there's this, funds that you receive, the principal organization. So for me, I'll take that conversation back to the House of NASA and question, why are you complaining? What did you agree about on paper?
We have one of them here who looks at me as though my argument is misplaced, and therefore we'd love to know what was the agreement until we get to this point.
Exactly.
To be very honest with you, there was no clause talking about the division of revenue or money, because when you talk about the money being allocated to parties, it's to parties, not coalitions. It's to parties.
Wow.
That's why the money was given to ODM, because the ODM, with the strength they have in Parliament, they qualify to get the money.
A gentleman's approach, Mheshimiwa. Do you think it would be fair?
Those gentleman approaches are good, but if approach is right, but if the approach is wrong, and there is nothing compelling you to give, then you don't give. So the only thing we can advise our coalition partners, let us get the right approach so that we don't politicize it.
Are you not discouraging? Yes.
The main problem, and Mheshimiwa, is that we are creating a lot of distrust in this country. And when these things are happening at the national level, and for our children, and even for those budding business partnerships, they don't benefit from that. Because at the end of the day, it is very clear on the kit that is coming to the ODM and the representation in Parliament, because that is the benchmark on division of this revenue that comes from the under the Political Parties Act. I think the best thing that would have happened is on that pro rata basis, and it is very clear how it can be shared, that it be done. But as of now, the kind of mistrust within and about our political establishment is too much because of the smaller things that have happened pertaining to these big parties. And that one impacts on business and on how we relate socially. So it's a very, very sad reality for this country.
And true to it, I would want to pick this conversation from where Betty left it. That she says, At this point in time, it's hard for one to win an election as one party. And therefore, that then places us at a point where we can't run away from coalitions, from alliances. So when we speak about a scenario where party funding should go to parties and not coalitions, and at the same time, we're speaking of a scenario where to win a presidency or to win the top seat, then you have to go it as a coalition. What are we speaking, honestly? What are we trying to say here? And is it true, if we are to go by that statement, that it has reached a point where we can't have one party clinging to power?
Yeah, when you see parties coming together, this is why we come with the coalition agreement. Let it be captured in that agreement.
Okay.
We go further and capture issues related to the revenue.
Right.
But if we are silent about it and we expect people to think for themselves, it might not be so.
So how will it be for Jubilee and ODM in the event that they say?
Is what I'm saying. If at
There's
all,
going to be an agreement.
If at all we are going to merge, we should agree and make it clear that if we win or at the end of elections, this is how we are going to forge forward, including the resources and everything. But if you only come with an agreement on winning the elections only, then we don't touch the nitty-gritties. Then at the end of the elections, you want now the gentleman's agreement, it might not always be there.
Are we at a space where we can't have one single party getting itself into power? Are we at that space where we have to be on coalitions or, have parties merge or alliances?
I think we can. Look at Jubilee itself. How did Jubilee become?
It was a merger.
It was an amalgamation of several, political parties that were existing. Only that, those parties were required to disband and deregister themselves and join this one main thing. So, looking at the model of Jubilee, we still had several, political parties that had to fold and come together under one roof. So I'm thinking that what is the lesson, that we can take away from all this, going forward. One, we also have to be realistic, Linda, and real to ourselves due to the tribal nature of our politics. You can't run away from tribes when you're talking about politics, and that's the reality. And to win an election, you have to answer the numbers question, the question of numbers. So then you have, people, the country balkanized, into blocks. So there's this block here, there's this block here, there's this block here, and then the arithmetics. If I get this block and I get this block, nimeingia. And that is the reality, of our politics. And any politician or political party facing 2022 blind, to that fact, I think is shooting themselves in the foot. However, whatever coalitions or alliances that come, all Kenyans need to feel that they are part of it. I would not want to say that because I am from tribe X, I can only, join alliance Y, because I think we need to get out of that and think more of issues, regardless of the tribal balkanization, if you see what I mean. Then secondly, a big lesson learned from NASA is that going forward, any political party getting into an alliance, sign an agreement with two scenarios. If we win, then what? If we do not clinch that seat we are looking for, then what? And put just everything, clearly on paper, so that at the end of the day, when it is super crucial, then we start seeing, all these outbursts, and Kenyans, we go like, ha, kumbe, what really happened there. And then finally, try to be as transparent as possible, so that the mistrust, that my fellow panelist is talking about within, political parties and alliances, and the distrust, and can I trust this one this time? Alinifanyia hivi, can I trust that one? So that it just, the minute that barrier, comes down, the barrier of mistrust, then I think we're going to have very, very strong political parties and alliances. Because even if you look at, internationally speaking, governments form due to an alliance. And the minute one side loses confidence in another side, then Kwisha. You know,
and that's the point. That's my point. And my biggest fear as a people, are we learning the lessons? We'd want to look at this as multi-partyism, you know, taking a notch higher. But then again, what are the positives that come along with the alliances? We have seen on numerous occasions they are being viewed as outfits that would help us cross the bridge to the other side. And once we get to the other side, it's a whole different thing. Look at Jubilee. It is not giving Kenyans what it is that Kenyans expected from Jubilee. How do we get to learn lessons and understand that in as much as we get excited in the euphoria of politicians, you know, conglomerating and coming together and having parties together, it's got nothing to do with the common mwananchi?
I think, leader, and that is why in my position as the chairman of CAF, I've stated that a degree for you to be a leader is purely very peripheral and secondary. Because what we are lacking in this country is integrity, leaders of integrity, honest leaders. And like in this coalition, NASA coalition, I think it should have been driven more by goodwill and the spirit within that agreement. Because agreements, code letters will never interpret everything for everybody. The goodwill and the spirit of doing what is right and being honest is the main thing. And therefore, that is the direction we should be looking at. I know that it will be very difficult for one party in Kenya to work. The messaging from the Hasra Nation and the UDA is that it is a party for all Kenyans at the grassroots, the Mamambogas and such. But at the end of the day, you also find there are other parties who are appendages to the UDA. We have TSP, we have the PDP, we have PEP. So at the end of the day, although we have UDA there, also it is trying to build coalitions with the other parties. The same case is happening with the One Kenya Alliance, with the NASA, and with the ODM, and with the Jubilee. Therefore, where we are, it will be a test run to see whether the messaging, the national messaging, like being driven by UDA, and the coalition messaging, which we have known all through from 2002, what will take precedence over the other. But at the end of the day, I think, and again, is that we look at that we are driven by what is good for the Raja and that will serve the Raja interest of the people of this country. And that way, we shall find convergence and we shall be able to move forward together.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, as we come to a close, what is this excitement of people forming parties, small parties, and then now they come and conglomerate to make coalitions and alliances? And to be honest, I insist on this bit, that Kenyans get excited with these coalitions, knowing very well that after they have clinched power, there's really nothing much to show for it, nothing much for Kenyans to enjoy. And now we're speaking of a scenario where Jubilee is Jubilee, but it's not Jubilee, because then the key leaders are facing different directions.
It's business.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I form a party and a major party will look for me for a coalition, they pay me. A typical example of Kalem Mendele. You are aware there are some money he was promised, and the family was still looking for that money until he was buried without us being told whether the money was given or not. So that money Kalem Mendele got because he had a party, or he was promised because he had a party, which he was ready to affiliate to Jubilee, and it was in return of something. So most of these parties, like these small parties, somebody may just think one day maybe William Ruto will be blocked from Jubilee and he'll be running now to look for a party to host him. And by the time he is now coming to knock at your door to give him a party, he'll have to pay you. So forming parties is part of business we have now in the country.
When we say the likes of PEP, that is Moses Kuria, were paid.
That's business.
That's business. So the likelihoods of such really happen.
There are many with the parties waiting for people to buy them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting conversations in politics right here. So as we come to a close, maybe a minute or so, for you to give us your parting shots, Mheshimiwa.
Okay, thank you again, leader. It has always been my pleasure to be here. And I think for this country is that Kenya will not come to an end because of the elections next year, and that Kenya is a blessed country, and that the leaders and the people of this country should just do the right thing, and then we have a luminous future for both ourselves and our children. And I'm looking forward to seeing these arrangements and coalitions and whatever that brings people together being worked on parameters of honesty, goodwill, and the spirit to ensure that Kenya is able to move together and that we assure our people that there is a future after tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I mean after the next year's general elections, because Kenya will be there, and the best we can do is to ensure that we continue building a firmer foundation for its growth into the future.
All right, amazing. If at all we're going to have an election, is that statement me?
Actually, you know, Rita, there is that speculation that there might not be elections. The only time, and this would bring a constitutional quagmire, is that only when there is a state of war, that Parliament must extend the term for an initial 6 months and another final time of 6 months.
Okay.
I don't think Kenya is going to be at war with anyone. And if again you would change the date of the election, that is one of the protected clauses where the people must be involved. And I can assure you that the people of this country will want to go to elections on the 2nd of Tuesday, August next year.
Betty.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a while. I commit to keep coming. And just to my fellow Kenyans, out there, the journey to 2022 already started. The temperatures are rising. The tempo is likely, to rise even higher as we move closer. Take your time to consider the happenings of the day and be part of the political process, because many women, many youth say, no, politics is not for me. Yet even the ugali you eat or don't eat is a political issue. So time is up. If you're considering a party, KANU should be your party of choice. Please reach out to us and we will show you what to do and open our door to you. And lastly, I just want to also, decry to my fellow Kenyans that COVID is real. When you're out there, whatever it is that you are, please follow to the letter the containment measures, that have been put in place. Carry your own little small sanitizer in your pocket. Wear your mask correctly, and if you can, avoid places, of crowd, and keep yourself safe. Be the first person yourself to keep yourself safe, and then we all, will be safe. But keep safe out there.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's my first time here.
Thank you.
I would say I'm comfortable, and if I'm invited again, I'll come.
Asante.
As ODM as a party, I would say we are ready to go. And if we'll go with the others, good for us. But if the others are not ready to go with us, we are good to go alone.
Okay.
And as I can put it across to Kenyans, as a party, we are ready. And our structures as ODM, which is the strongest party in the country today, we have everything ready.
Okay.
And what we want to tell our competitors, that we are open, we are ready to work with all of them. What we are prioritizing is to build one Kenya. And we want to bring down all the barriers which has paid us to keep on fighting as a country. We want Kenyans to live and enjoy being in this country. But lastly, to our youths, this culture or attitude of get rich quick must come to an end. Because this is the beginning of the rot we are experiencing in this country. We love this country. And when we love this country, nobody can be born today and you walk today. People must be patient enough. And if it's a matter of making wealth would be as procedural as possible. But let us not have an attitude of trying to get rich within a day. It is dangerous to yourselves. It's also dangerous to the country at large and the people who are around you. I thank you.
Someone sent a text, is like they were just reading your man and saying, if you must do it so smart that and so much feedback that we won't be able to sample as we proceed with the broadcast. Another one says, you know what, when you speak of engaging your competitors, let it be Ruto. So it should be a Ruto-Raila affair.
In fact, in ODM, we are not mindful about Ruto's candidature.
Okay.
Yeah, he is free to compete. And
free to join you.
And he's also free to, if he's also free, he's welcome to join us.
Okay.
But the message we are giving him is that let us prioritize this country, and balkanization will not help anything.
That's true. Honorable Member of Parliament of Nyatike, Tom Odege, thank you so much for your time. Betty Adera, National Chair, Kanu Women Congress, thank you so much. And lastly, Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, Chair, County Assemblies Forum. Asante sana. We close it at that. Thank you so much for your feedback. We leave it at that as we get to a different conversation altogether. We keep saying that we have these troubles with our tummy. You know, you hit the gym and you're telling the instructor, you know, please, if there's anything that I'd want to lose, is this big tummy of mine. So today we give you some of the tips that would be very helpful for you to get rid of that stubborn belly fat right here as we discuss ultrasonic cavitation. Hold it right there. It's a great conversation that you do not want to miss out on. And of course, as all those questions, we'll be sampling some of your comments as we proceed with the broadcast. We take a quick break and get to that.